Hi guys, happy new day. I just a lot of remembrances coming up. You know, I love the tarot because it does help us with these things. You know, there's different layers to what the tarot is, and so for those of you who have never been to this channel before, it's just getting off the ground, and right now it's named Catwalks. It might change, don't know. I have so many projects in the works right now. But look, most of my work in many lives has been as a healer, someone who understands the laws of energy and reincarnates to do specific work on the planet. And I understand that this is not always widely accepted as being truth. I was raised in Christianity, and so, you know, most Christians don't even believe in the past life at all. But whatever, there were specific texts that were forcefully, and I use that word with specific stance because I remember, that were forcefully left out of the Bible that most Christians read. And within these texts, there's Yeshua talking about the remembrance process, and this harkens the Buddhist traditions, because he did go and study in the East. He did, and so of course there was knowledge there. And within the law of one, everything being connected, that knowledge isn't necessarily just mine, it's also yours. This is what gnosis is, swirling within the divine and understanding. So like today, real life examples of this would be like, we get into relationships with people, right? We vibrationally ping on this and we're like, we remember something. If we trust ourselves, we remember maybe me having met this soul, and the soul could have chosen to look different in a different body, maybe even a different gender. The soul could even be in an animal, a creature of some sort. This is all situational times 500 million, and you know, this is the beauty of the place that we live within. So when you look at events on the world stage, or you're looking at relationship happenstances in your life, and when you truly sit in meditation and you allow yourself to unlock the remembrance process, and this is a walking meditation, mind you. It's not like you're going to get all of these things just sitting within the safe confines of your house and on your couch, y'all. It does not work like that. You have to get out there and mix in life. That's the point. That's why some readers would call this the game of life, and that's why tarot is a game. It's partly how it was created to be the way it was so long ago now. It is a process of remembrance. It's also, some people call it a divination device. Well, what kind of divination device is it? What are you actually using it for? It's a tool. And this tool gets used in various different ways. And all of them are actually appropriate, right? Because we live within a mirrored system of reality right now. Literally every action does actually create an equal and opposite reaction. And this is what we've been vibrationally pinging off for a very long time. It kind of reminds me of like the Two of Pentacles. And I pulled this one with divinity today, and what a fascinating pairing, because man, oh, that Two of Pentacles swirl within the divine light. Remember that there is absolutely no weapon that will ever be formed against those who are called according to purpose. It is soul in connection with God that literally calls judgment on bullshit. Because look, as you're walking through the process of awakening within the grand swirl of your own life story, connected to every other story you've ever lived within many lives, as you vibe and you raise the vibe in your heart and in your life, and you accept unconditional love as the fiery, passionate thing that it is, love brandishes a sword named truth, and it does cut both ways. It does. Because all of us are meant to be equally this empowered and fiery. So, you know, it's interesting, with the Judgment card, I pulled jealousy. Now, the only way jealousy could ever operate would be if some being fully believes that they can't have what they're looking at. They can't have anything like it. So they're just jealous of it, And it's been a particular stance of introspection for me to wonder, how could people be jealous of me? I've had people be jealous of me when I was living out of my car. I've had people be jealous of me for being lithe and lean. Well, I was raised on a dairy farm, and one of my first memories as a child was carrying buckets of milk on either side that weighed more than my body, even when I was a child. So I have had, just a lot of hard knocks when it comes to keeping going, even when it feels like I cannot possibly physically keep going. Today you're looking at a girl who has not had a shower for a week and a half because I've been working my absolute tail off. 12-hour days for 3 weeks, and I'm tired. I slept all day yesterday, and last night my dream state was so vivid. The cool thing about being pressed, like I myself, I am the vat of grapes that has been dropped into, the press, in the old-fashioned way people would get in and press it with their feet. That's what the last 3 weeks have felt like for me. Constant lessons in the new business that I am attempting to get off the ground, constant lessons in navigating the relationship I'm in while I'm trying to get a new business off the ground, constant lessons in, say, my propensity to get triggered and wish to escape. These are just honest truths about how I've navigated life up until this point, what needs to change. And I can't blame there's no blame in this process. There's only total acceptance, which is love, an absolute pure living form, which I believe that to be the space wherein God is. Infinite flowing river of life that is this infinite connector of knowledge, an imbiber of knowledge. If God is omniscient, omnipresent, which we've used these words to describe God, but that's also in us. And there's this divine living flow of water that courses through us, these beautiful spirit bubbles, and then those bubbles get wafted back to the divine, and it feeds the divine the information it needs so that creation can keep occurring. And so on the world stage, and then heavily in my dream space last night, I see some players that really actually are, say, when we talk about divinity, this is loaded, because even, say, someone like Aleister Crowley was actually living out his purpose. And I know that's difficult for people to understand. But see, we came here to play, to illuminate what is and what we want to be is. What is it? How do we choose to live together? It's really easy when you look at what happens on the world stage. It's really easy to get, this is a victim mindset, you guys, to say that everything that's happening out there is not a part of anything that I did. So I'm going to just drink myself silly and exit stage left, right? This could feed nihilism, and that's a really interesting thing to look into, emotional nihilism. And I feel like we are at risk for a large segment of humanity falling within that. Not because you're wrong or bad, it's just because exhaustion is a thing. The book of Proverbs says, hope deferred makes a heart grow sick. And we have to look at ways within us, within our lives, where we are suffering, when we're literally sick with lack of hope. So how do we foster hope? How do we encourage it to well up in our lives? And one of the things I have found vibrationally sound for myself is to focus on beauty. So if I'm having a day where I just feel like I am sad, I'm confused, I must automatically recognize that and say, but there is beautifulness right here. There's beauty right here. It's in this bottle. It's a glass water bottle, which hardly ever exists anymore. I find this to be incredibly beautiful. I love that this water comes in green glass. It's absolutely magnificently wonderful to drink. Not advertising for them, but they have great water. And I have personally been there to drink out of the springs in Hot Springs, Arkansas. I love them. Yeah, totally. But, so there's all of these grand connections, and we cannot be afraid to jump into the experience of life. So for maybe you get into a new relationship with somebody, and you all of a sudden start to remember these things, like you were maybe in your dream space, or just you're driving and you randomly have these pictures flash through your mind. Start to believe those things, please. And you have to be cautious of your own programming. The movies we watch, the books we read most certainly do influence. That's why you should always choose those things that are the highest vibe, that help you to connect to yourself and not program you with what they want you to be. There's a huge difference. And that's really the tale of duality. That if you look at this, what's being played out right now, it's really fascinating. You can pop popcorn and you can sit back and be like, whoa, this is an ancient story that is unfolding right before our eyes. And the whole point is so that you can, first of all, know who you are, to know thyself. Shakespeare's brilliant. All the world is but a stage, and we are but the players. Well, what am I playing? What part am I playing? And that can take some decided effort and patience and understanding of yourself, a lot of grace, and the allowance of time to pass. You're not going to just know that stuff overnight, more than likely, unless you have like a, I don't know. I mean, I've had some pretty cool spiritual experiences, but most of the time I don't trust the all of a sudden things, because sometimes that could be a manipulation. You have to be incredibly discerning. Discernment is really on you. And the only way we can practice proper discernment is to make sure our hearts are correct. We must approach everything out of pureness, meaning, can we gauge the purity? Can we test the essence? I used to think, going around to purity, I used to think that I was horribly harmed as a child because of certain things I'd gone through, sexual stuff, that children can go through. I did. And it left me feeling guilty and marred for a long time. So I've really meditated on the feeling of purity for quite a while. And can I test, so going into, say, sexual things, right? In the purity of my own heart, meaning to test my intention, to test everything. Is my action motivated out of pure intention? Is it coming from a good space where I simply wish to experience connection with another and there's no harm? And could I gauge some of the actions in my life through that lens, the lens of purity? And really, that's kind of a hard process, because it requires a lot of self-truth. It requires, understanding where, and I'm going to be kind and gracious and say where you have been programmed and what is truly you. And you have to, that's where discernment kicks in, and you have to start to feel the difference. Your body will show you the way of what is truth and what is not. And we're at a time where the messengers that have gone before us, if you could visualize with me these beautiful pebbles that glow vivid blue in the dark, right? And there's hundreds of thousands of messengers, people who have loved working with the divine in this life, and they've decided to share their works of knowledge. These are pebbles that are laid out that we can step on. They knew they didn't want to see the future generations of humanity recreate the wheel. They thought, wow, this would be better if we could just share the messages, right? Now, we all know what some of the tales with these messengers are. They're not always accepted. Some are demonized, some are stoned to death. We don't know. Like, there's been burnings, there's been, all kinds of things. I remember dying in various lives at the hands of nefarious creatures who did not see my value. I remember that. I forgive all of it. I love you because I'm still here, enjoying this beautiful planet and watching this amazing story unfold. So even if something horrible were to happen to me in this life, horrible meaning maybe, I mean, seriously, it's just story. So however this all ends up is totally fine. And I know that's so hard to get to. Maybe some of us need to smoke a million joints, drink a few beers to get there. I don't know. Like, I don't know what your process is. You know, but I will say that there is great power in authenticity. If you can stand within the light of your authentic truth, and that doesn't really necessarily come from me. It's something I've paired with energetically with another reader I adore greatly. Her name is Emmy at Emmy Evolving. Please check her out. She's brilliant in every connected form. And she is someone I consider a soul sister I've never met in real life. You know, all of us have different processes that we go through. And I'm here to champion the person who might feel a little bit guilty for maybe smoking a few joints, smoking some tobacco, drinking some beers. I'm not saying get lost in it. Please don't do that. Don't lose your light, you guys, because it can snuff out your light. But if you understand the Magician card in the tarot, sometimes we need a tool to help us get out of guilt consciousness, to get out of comparison. Sometimes we need a tool to even feel some joy that we don't seem to be able to foster within our present moment just because life feels that heavy. All of these feelings, right? All of the feelings, you know. I had an experience recently where, and this is a relationship experience, my guy's like, oh, why do you have to be so emotional? Well, because I am. I love being vivacious and bright. I do. But I mean, I can also be incredibly peaceful and placid, certainly, but that's not the only part of my character. And you might be in danger to think that I'm always peaceful and placid, because I'm not. A lot of times if I'm really peaceful and placid, it probably means I'm exhausted. You know, I love, you know, the vibrancy of the sunflower, and I love the gentle opening of the morning glory. I do. I love both in equal proportions to the feeling of each moment of every day. And it's really quite refreshing and lovely. So, you know, the next card, and it's funny, I'm choosing to read these backwards because you see, this is a mirrored reality. We are going into a time of a great portal that is under the sign of Leo. And this, you know, you're going to find a lot of videos online talking about how this is a very powerful manifestation time. You better bet your booty it is. It certainly is. And it can create confusion at first if you're new to, say, studying the laws of energy and maybe astrology, and you're like, what does this really mean? And, you know, there's words of caution spoken around, well, make sure you pay attention to what you're coupling your energy with as you do these manifestation rituals. It's funny. It's really funny. You know, one of the most powerful manifestation rituals you could ever do is to do something you enjoy and dance all the way through it. It's seriously, like, so powerful. You know, to dance around the walls of your life and watch the walls come tumbling down. It's really beautiful. You know, there's absolutely no magic in lighting a candle, in burning sage, in holding a crystal without the essence of you, with the enjoyment of every part of it, and understanding it, and understanding that all of those things are simply tools, and those things are actually pretty rudimentary and old world, quite frankly. They are. We are learning from them still, but they are bridges, you guys, so that you can know you in connection to God. It is not, none of those things are meant to be a substitute for the divine. They are part of the divine swirl, but they are not, you know, don't get superstitious is what I'm saying, I guess. Be careful of superstition, because superstition is actually just fear in really wordy garbage in your minds. That's all superstition is, and it doesn't allow you to experience the fullness of life at all. So, so one of my personal favorite, the next one would be the Queen. I love the Queen of Swords. You know why? Because she's coupled with tons of relief. And look at that. Yeah. Because that heady queen right there, look at that blue flag. She's like, okay, I see who my enemies are. The thing about being the Queen of Swords, right, is in a lot of ways, you have been through life. You understand now how manipulation works, how jealousy gets projected. You understand your own divinity. And it has taken you've gone through the battlefield of life, and you know how to wield a sword at the appropriate time. It is warrior stance. And it is gorgeous in its foresightful perspective. It's really quite wonderful. And for that, the Queen of Swords, she's I keep seeing the picture of, like, the old pioneers, when they first settled the West, they would circle the wagons. There's a lot going on this play of life. All of us generally are, from whatever station we were born into, going in and trying to get more for ourselves, trying to make sure our families are safe. There's so much that factors in. It turns out that nobody was right. Nobody was really wrong. We are all pieces. We're all players. And, from that true sense, I am definitely a player in this life. I think it's funny how in this sexual thing, we've called people who have multiple partners without heart connection a playa. Like, that was probably from when I was young. I don't even know if that word is used anymore. When I was going to segue back into that idea, when I was going through my healing process and awakening to a lot of things in myself, when I say participated in a little bit more of a promiscuous lifestyle, honestly, because I was healing and I was learning, and I wasn't like, I would look in the mirror and say, what are your intentions here? I would do that practice. What are your intentions here? Do you have love here? And can you practice non-attachment? That was something I was learning, because you see, I was born into a highly codependent atmosphere around what relationships are between guys and girls. And I couldn't stomach it. I wonder if anybody else out there has that tale to tell. And, we have a propensity in the culture to watch the pendulum swing very widely. We're reactionary. We are in our learning stances. And it is totally reactionary just to sit out, you guys. If you're judging someone for having life experiences and you're sitting over there thinking that you're all pristine and you don't have any dirt on you, well, sorry to tell you, but you still do. By not participating. You didn't get into it. You kept yourself safe. So you chose comfort, you chose safety, and you haven't actually learned the lessons you came here to learn. You've been keeping yourself so pristine and pure, whatever your idea of purity is, right? Instead of the testing for its true function to do. Anyway, we have so much gorgeousness ahead of us if we can stop and listen. There's every divine solution available to you, to me, if we are just willing and able to open our hands up to God of this universe and all of the angelic support, all of our familial support. And because they can see a lot more than I can when I'm in the throes of learning my lessons. It's okay to just say, okay, hi, I'm here. What do you need me to hear? I'm listening. And if we can steady ourselves in peace, the element of wholeness. Shalom, y'all. Shalom. Ah, shalom. You know, I remember a girl who was so tired of religious dogma that she would stamp her foot every time she said shalom. Now, that's my memory. And I enjoy the memory of being scolded for not being what some people thought peace should be. But you see, I know that shalom means wholeness, which is healing in working, flowing form, wholeness. Every part working together within the whole. Shalom. I know, and I feel the vibe of it. Can we feel the vibration of the words we're speaking? Can we celebrate the vibration of the words that we're speaking? Can we house them within ourselves? And can we cultivate careful ground for those seeds to be planted within? Because you know what? What happens next is that soul mating with heart, everything being connected, soulmate energy. I love soulmate energy. I do. I love it so much. This is not always within the romantic context, although it was drawn within the Two of Cups pairing. I prefer to put this pairing within the divine context of everything you need will be provided. And most of the time, it will blow us open what we have set up in expectation level. Because a lot of times, especially as women, we want to think, well, that pairing is romantic partnership, it's marriage, and it could definitely be those things. And if that's for you, I celebrate that, and I'm blowing you kisses for harmony and peace in the relationship you choose, to partner within. It's beautiful. But we have to take a wider gaze, and just bringing in a wider gaze into what this partnering energy is. What are we partnering with? And this goes back to discernment. If there's 2 cups, what are the cups full of? These are emotions. Well, what are the past life experiences of this being that we're looking at, say, networking with? What are they actually? Because I'm here to tell you right now that those, Jung did a lot of work in the subconscious, and he's the subconscious is really honestly the driving force of everybody's actions and behaviors, how they operate. And the more you heal and vibe in this Gnostic, like the only way I know how to describe it is the swirl of gnosis, where the whirling dervishes, this is your life, this is the feeling in your heart, joy, and everything around you is just circumnavigating that, and everything you're creating flows out of that in connection to the divine. This is how most of us want to be living. We want to feel passionately lit about our lives and constantly enthralled about the new things that we're experiencing. And it's really hard to, no, it's not difficult. What's being illuminated in very intensely difficult situations, like say maybe I've had this happen. You have to choose homelessness because you can't afford the house, right? So you end up living in your car. And I've done this, I've been there. And there's certain situations that have happened that has been a huge slam to my expectations and how to navigate life. And honest, what a fear that came up in me is, what are people going to think? God, they must think that I'm some loser who can't work, But see, when we go back to the lens of soul and the perspective of the soul journey in this particular lifetime and the culmination of all the lessons that we're bringing in with us when we decide to drop into body again, it's a thing, and soul will have its way one way or another. And you really don't want is to be laying there if death comes to you and think, wow, I just now understand I'm supposed to be listening more. I was supposed to go on the adventure of life more. And I kept myself stuck so that I can just look at this wall and take my final breath. It would be better to be dancing and shouting hallelujah and amen as you go out the door. I'm serious, you guys. It would be better. Why not? I'm not talking about a martyr's perspective. I'm talking about the warrior stance that we're really meant to get into here. You know. So the next one is the Seven of Cups paired with guides. And I love this because the Seven of Cups, this guy is really contemplating hard. There's a snake there. There's a bat. There's a river of water. There's ladders. And there's all these contemplations of which cup to overturn, what option to choose. And we cannot make any proper choice without consulting our guides at all. You know, we can't. You know, my guides are pretty sarcastic with me. They know what I struggle with in my mind, and so they come through with a lot of humor, a lot of pictures, things that sometimes I don't want to remember, but you know, yeah. So it is what it is. The next up, and then wow, I love this. Transformation. Now this, I believe, is a picture of duality for us because, look, coupled with the Three of Swords. Now, I've heard other readers say this is one of the most dreaded cards in the tarot deck. Yeah, okay, fine. I am not afraid of this card. Especially look at the beautiful coupling here with transformation. You know, I will say that, you know, what do butterflies really enjoy? Because this butterflies get handed the transformation, you know, allegory all the time, which sometimes I think cats might take offense at, or even dogs, but, you know, whatever. You know, butterflies really, they usually gravitate towards finding pee, and they eat it and poo. I mean, you know, anyway, just funny. This is our transformation. So whenever you become the butterfly, you're going to go find the pee and the poo. You're going to sniff it out and see if it has goodness in it or not. I mean, this is duality, you guys. There's a lot of truth in your poo. You know, right? We already know this. The microbiome, our gut health, and all of this. If you're constipated, you're probably also spiritually constipated. This is coming out with the transformation with the butterfly. And heartbreak can be so good for us. It can be the breath of fresh air that we need to get our hearts broken open, to see that what we were living in, the belief system that we were in, is not good, you know? So maybe you're in partnership with somebody, or you know, there's a soul contract with you and another. You remember parts of a past life. You get vibrationally pinged. None of us are always there all the time. You get the information when you're ready to access it, and when soul says it's time. We're working here in relationship with soul. So like, you know, you might get information in your sleep or something that illuminates why the energy dynamic is the way it is in your relationship. Maybe there's been a point of frustration, irritation, a blockage, and you're really irritated and you don't want to make any fast moves because you care about this person and you care about you. You're just trying to figure out. And all of a sudden, the information comes, you're like, oh, that's why. So, you know, sometimes that can feel heartbreaking because it can be scary when you really remember who you're with. God, because not every soul walking around on planet Earth has had lives of just being a farmer or just being good people all the time, or, you know, or even like we could get into the realms of magic. Some souls walking around have been, really versed in playing with magic and timelines, okay? Just saying. So, you know, the heartbreak is necessary to carve away any illusions that are blocking us from our highest potential and connection to God, which is our purpose unfolding. That is where affluence is. And the card that was pulled with affluence, and I love this card so much. It's multi-layered. Affluence, man, real affluence is you vibing completely, totally, wholeheartedly in like your divine purpose, and you're walking around, you're strutting it out. And I feel like we've seen some people do this, and we want to make them famous, usually. And I guess that segues to the card that's pulled with affluence, the star. Oh yes. I love how she's holding the star on a string, and it's kind of like a balloon. I used to say, that hope is a balloon, and I'm going to waft it up and see it fly, and I'm going to hold it to my heart. And I love this card because it reminds me of this thing I used to say. And this is the pool of desire. It's the pool of your personal things that just make you light up and you feel passionate about. Star energy literally is when I wish upon a star. And it's then I don't know this for sure, but I feel a lot of Aquarius energy here myself, because, Aquarius is such a beautiful energy of, say we could call it new earth vibrational underpinnings, the new age that we're going into, that is literally really about us crafting it. And within duality, we could see that sometimes what kind of makes us slip into victim consciousness in some ways would be all these outside power players that are like seemingly creating reality for us. Right? Like, and it can feel exhausting when you really think about that, and you think about some of the things that you don't feel that you're in control of in your life. But if we can once again get into this magician's energy of magic and realize that the resources we have at our fingertips are exactly what we need for right here, right now. A dear friend of mine said once, Raina, just do the smallest thing. I was in a state of overwhelmment. I was coming out of homelessness. Just do the smallest thing. I will be forever grateful to that man for saying that in the way that he did. Because he knew I couldn't handle a lot. And he also, I felt him believe in my greatness. I've had the most magnificent journey in this life, and I wish you to feel the same catapult of love and hope. May hope feed your soul. So finally, and I love this, we have power. This is referencing psychic abilities. And I always think of the Lord of the Rings with this. If anybody else out there is a Tolkien fan, I always think about this. This is referencing your own psychic abilities and your power in connection to the divine. And keep in mind, we're going to go back to duality, and it's here. It's here. This Knight of Cups, you guys. Seriously. The choice is yours. I love the Knight of Cups. He can be a little bit navy. It could kind of, in my girly world, it could kind of look like, that guy that gives you the wink, like, oh girl, you so sexy, you so fine. I want to blow your mind. And yeah, he's going to blow your mind until he doesn't call you back, right? You're like, the Knight of Cups. You just made me understand I'm worth more. Thank you. I appreciate you. Like, seriously. Psychic power. So when we are learning to stand within the divine light of our authentic truth, this guy right here, he's got that beautiful white stallion behind him. My goodness, he does. And when I was a teenage girl, I wrote like this fractured fairy tale about, a knight in shining armor, and so this guy, he's polishing his armor, and he puts it all on, and he gets up on the horse. It's really heavy, and he falls down on the side of the road. And he's creaking, and he can't go save the damsel. He can't do it. And wow. And so here comes the damsel in distress that he's gonna go get. And what does she do? In her beautiful dress and smelling like roses, she helps him get up. But you know what she doesn't do? Is put him back on the horse. And they decide to walk down the road together. By God. Beautiful. Beautiful. Love it. So don't let your power go to your head. Just because you think you have these psychic abilities opening up, this is my word of caution. You need to start to understand where triggers actually come from. Where are they really coming from? What is instigating the trigger of your sight? Where is it coming from? Is this motivated out of love or fear? If you ask that question 9 times out of 10, it'll help you ground instead of becoming energetically hijacked out of your body and then all your power is gone because you just fed exactly what that trigger wanted you to. And we could go in and talk about entities and all this stuff, but not today. I'm not going to do that today. You've got to start to become aware of what is triggering you and where that energy is going and what it feels like in your body. That is the best, most beautiful starting place ever. It'll keep you from getting side-railed in your life, because keep in mind, the enemy most certainly does come to steal, to kill, and to destroy. The word I actually used was the devil. The devil comes to steal, to kill, and to destroy. Well, what is the devil? Well, the devil's always in those details, and you can find him there, usually. And a lot of times, those details are hiding out in the things that we've forgotten. Like the wool has literally been pulled over your eyes. That's why you must practice discernment, to have eyes to see and ears to hear. Smelling comes in handy too, because you can smell bullshit a mile away, you guys. You really actually can. Your body's going to tell you about it. Every part of you is hardwired to practice discernment, so that part of survival, we talk a lot about getting out of survival, but a big part of survival is knowing how to get what you need right now that sustains your needs. And that's a beautiful part of survival. It's gorgeous. You can survive in any situation and be totally fine and happy with a smile on your face. I promise you, you can. You can navigate so much chaos because you are connected to the divine. You are divine. And that's what this 2 of Pentacles is. And you will call judgment when you need to, in connection to soul. And you will get divine guidance. I mean, remember that justice is God's. Always the divine's. It is not yours. You do not carry it out. It is not for you. And that little bit of information might get you some jealousy. We'll go back to the beginning because, well, not everybody operates in that. A lot of people think that if they assert power and control and dominance that they will win. When in fact that just means they're the slowest player. Yeah, on stage, at the racetrack, doesn't matter really where. Power, control, and dominance slows you down. It's heavy energetically. It does not work. It is laborious and it is slow. It is what it is. I find it a fascinating fact that hummingbirds, for being as beautiful as they are, those little hummers, they could take down the fastest, hardiest, most powerful warrior man who comes in at weighing 400 pounds, right, whatever, and just by, going for his eye. And I mean, seriously, that is actually the world we live in. These little, beautiful, tiny creatures are more deadly than a huge, hulking man who can lift immense amounts of weight and threaten others by his presence. Because we've all met people like that who enjoy that. And we're coming out of that, okay? This is not the end. We're coming out of that. There's no more warrior energy. It's different to be within warrior stance versus go to war. You know, no more of this manipulating your mind to think you have to assert control and dominance. Those things, I don't even want to call them people. Those things are being adequately broadcasted and brought out into the light, and they will be handled by the divine. So have no fear. Trust in the divine. Wish upon a star. And be absolutely grateful for every hardship, for everything, and get into the pain of it. That's also from a friend of mine. When I needed to hear it, get into the pain, dig into it, let it teach you, and you will understand what it means to be more than a conqueror, because you are. You are more than a conqueror. You are divine. It's just plain and simple. And if you can live your life with that knowledge, by God, you'll just be happy as a lark. And there is nothing. There's not a flat tire. There's not lacking in gas money. There's not lacking in food, because you're going to know that you are more than a conqueror. And by God, you're going to go get it. You will. You're not going to have to steal for it. You're going to choose the higher path, the higher vibrational path, where you witness the divine show up for you in ways that you thought were just not even possible. But it's true. It does happen. I saw it happen for me. If it can happen for me, this lowly hill Sally of a girl who's got a hand tattoo from a hobo, by God, it can happen for you. I love you. Be blessed. And yeah, this one. Shine your little light, please. Don't hide it. Love the most incorrigible person who has hated you your whole life. And if you gotta love them by leaving them, by God, do it. But show them unconditional love. Learn what love is and practice that. Be the starlight in your life. Be famous. I love you guys.